Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Powerbomb Project. My name is Berman, and with me, my two co-hosts,
Chris.
And Daniel.
and we are reviewing the very anticipated for me was Slammiversary 2023 Impact, and it did not live up to the expectations. I thought it was going to be very fun, but it was a fucking dog shit pay-per-view. There was only two matches that was really good. That's my honest review right there. And everyone else, what do you think about it?
You know what? I'm gonna be fair. The first match was pretty good, but after that, it kind of just went downhill from there. Without giving anything away.
You see, this show was hot. It was steamy, and not in the good way, or in the shitty smearing kind of way.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So let's start off with probably the best match of the night, which is really funny to me. It's just the opener, which is the Ultimate X number one contendership for the X Division Championship, which is Kushida versus Mike Bailey versus Jonathan Gresham versus Kevin Knight versus Allens and Jake something, the returning Jake something. This was very fun. I actually really loved it too. It was very fun to see everyone doing it, and I love Jake something. He's just a fun powerhouse guy who just. It looks like a jobber, but he is probably one of their main guys who probably was going to get a title soon enough. Not a main title, but probably like a singles title at least. But I think it was very fun. I definitely say this is probably definitely the best match of the night. The end up was Kushida winning this whole thing, so it would be Kushida versus the X Division champion, which I'm not going to say when we get to the X Division title, but it's going to be that. Don't know when. I think it's going to be on Impact or it's going to be on pay per view. But it was a very fun match. I still say it will be the best match of this night. After that, it all rolls down until one match after this one. I said two matches only was the best was out of this night. So I'll give this an 8.5 for me.
And same here because I'm confident to say that in this entire pay per view, this is literally the only good match. If you want to watch this Ultimate X, they always deliver with these kind of mashups. And Jonathan Gresham was actually pretty cool in this, but definitely the MVP was Kushida and then Jake something because I wasn't too familiar with Jake. I thought he was just gonna be like a jobber, like you said before, Berman. But god damn it, I respect his name. Like just his delivery of like doing like backflips and shit off the X term tape buckles, was just absolutely insane. It was so much damn fun. So I'll give it an 8.5.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fun opener for sure. Um, Sadly, you would think it would pick up after this, but it doesn't. So what I will say is, yeah, it's the match of the night by default. Um, and overall, yeah, you can't really go wrong with an Ultimate X match. And you see, I haven't watched Impact like that ever since I'd say 2013 was like the last time I was a big fan of this company. When the Aces and Eights came in, that like honestly, that's not a hot take. They're the worst stable that's ever been created in wrestling history. There is not a close second. Aces and Eights are the absolute worst, but that's a separate video for another time. This match was really damn good, and it made me remember what made me a TNA fan in the past. So I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I'll give the same thing too. That this type of matches were kind of how I got into this Impact, and I got out of Impact very long time. I think when they started doing weird reality show Impact, which pissed me off a lot. I hated it. But since Josh Alexander won that title, I pretty much got back into it because I was really loving him. So that's kind of a trivia for me too. But the whole thing. So let's go on to the next match, which is the Impact Knockouts Tag Team Championship match. Which are, if anyone doesn't know, Knockouts are the women in Impact. If no one knows that, it's going to be Coven, who are the champions, versus Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovich. So the big thing mainly is that Kelly and Masha Slammiversary have been in a big rivalry together. They had a big bloody dog collar match. It was a very great match. I do suggest anyone who don't know these two watch that match. It was actually a very good match on a regular singles, a regular TV show. It was a very fun match. I do love it. But they kind of got in a weird blood relationship. I don't know what happened. it's weird how they do this, but they really work together. It was not that bad of a match. It was very slow, weird, but it was not that bad. It was still. It kind of went down from Ultimate X to this one. It was very fun to kill Kelly, Masha Slamovich weird combination, but it was not bad. I think they were doing okay, better than say WWE tag team matches for women. I would say that. So I'm gonna give this a 5.5 for me.
And then for this case, I'm just gonna give it a 5. Like it wasn't like bad, but it was very average. But the only thing that kind of threw me off like really hard was the gimmick of Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovich, cause they're lesbos. Nothing wrong with that, but I'm just like, what the fuck is happening? Because I think it was Masha for like almost the entirety of the fucking match. She was just like on the ground, like acting like a dog, and I'm like, what the fuck am I watching?
That's Killer. That was
Killer?
Killer Kelly doing that.
Okay, Killer Kelly doing that. I'm just like, what the fuck is this? This isn't wrestling. This is some weird ass fetish shit. And I was like, bro, just let it in. It was just making me fucking cringe so hard the entirety of like, just get on with it. So I'm just giving it a 5.
Yeah.
It was average, but outside of that, that was just like, no, that's someone's fucking fetish. You can't tell me it wasn't.
Like someone just fantasy booked basically, and literally fantasy booked.
Literally.
Nah,
Cringe.
but yeah, you know what? Just to save time, I'll say this. I kind of agree with Chris. I thought it was kind of middle of the lane stuff. I wouldn't say bad, but I wouldn't say anything I really enjoyed either. Yeah, the history between Masha and Kelly is clearly something interesting, is what I'll say. But yeah, overall, the gimmicks kind of did throw me off at first, But you know what? There's nothing really too wrong with the gimmicks. The more and more I thought of it, but overall, yeah, doesn't really excuse this from being a very middle of the lane match. So I'm going to give it a 5.
Yeah. And a fun fact is that Killer Kelly was actually in WWE's Mae Young Classic a very long time ago. I think just the first one. I can't remember the second one she ever been, but she was there for a good while, and she went to NXT for about maybe a month or 3 months. Pretty much got killed in by Shayna Baszler before she got herself back into Impact for a very long time ago. So that's a fun fact that I know about Killer Kelly. But so let's move on to the more funny matches. That is the third match, which is a tag team match. Special guest enforcer was Darren McCarty, which is a hockey guy. Is a hockey player. If anyone doesn't know, a Canadian hockey player. It was Bully Ray and Diener versus Scott D'Amore, and we had no idea who was it. And from the dead, he rose Eric Young, and I was very excited because I love Eric Young, and I was a big fan of him. He was probably my number 2 favorite person in Impact for a long time. But yeah, this rivalry was very aggressive. Pretty much Bully Ray powerbombing Scott D'Amore through tables, through flaming tables, setting PCO on fire. That's true too. And it was ridiculous too. And the more parallels where Diener was the one who killed Eric Young, but then Eric Young came back from the dead, which don't know this is any story to that or anything. I have no idea. I haven't heard anything about that. But it was very funny. I really loved it. It was a very funny match. It was not the best match of the night. It was really bad, but it was very funny at the same time with how Scott D'Amore was actually doing some good wrestling moves. But it was really slow, weird. It could have been way better if they did an Extreme Rules match or a street fight or some type of false count anywhere. But no, they just did a tag team match, which kind of devolved into Extreme Rules. So it was weird, but it was just funny. So for me, at the end, it was Scott D'Amore who got the win with the Canadian Destroyer and Eric Young with the elbow. It was very funny. I would give it a 2 because it's just a very fun match. It made no sense, but it was just a funny match to put in there for the Canadian crowd. That's all I said.
I'd never been more disappointed in wrestling in my life. Like, cause before this happened, Berman was telling me the story of Scott D'Amore like coming back. This out of shape big executive guy. They're hyping the shit out of this during this pay per view, and I'm like, all right, cool. Like, it's gonna be a comedy match, but it's gonna be funny, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, it was funny. Almost like 20 minutes into the match, because half the time I'm just like, I don't want to see this comedy match anymore. You just keep it 5 to 10 minutes short. And I don't know why the fuck Bully Ray's even still wrestling, because that dude can't wrestle for shit. and I don't care if he's a legend or not. He's almost like 40 to 50 years old. It was so boring. It's unwatchable. The shit's getting a 1. Waste of time. I don't mind comedy
Honest,
matches, but keep that shit short.
honestly, with the way it was all hyped up, PCO getting set on fire,
Yeah.
Scott Demore being hella out of shape and coming back to this game, choke slam through tables. Like the way this was hyped up, I was expecting a 10 out of 10 slobber knocker. And what did I get? I got none of that. I got none of that. There weren't hardcore spots until the last 2 minutes, and they weren't anything too crazy. Like advertised, there was no fire. And sure, it's PCO. PCO's a bit of a psycho who can come back to life, but that's besides the point. I wanted violence, and I didn't get no violence because this was personal. This beef was personal. It was a nice little Team Canada reunion, I guess you could also say. And yeah, it's cool to see Eric Young back in the company, real talk, because, it's at least a place, he'll have something to do in. And Eric Young is good, so that's good. But yeah, this match is overall a very hot, steamy piece of dog shit, so I'm going to give it a 2 out of 10.
Yeah, it was not the best match and everything, but this one, this was a squash match in old technicality. This was for the X Division Championship match, and I know 100% Danny and me were very happy for this because I was just happy because one thing. First, Chris Sabin versus Lio Rush. Chris Sabin is champion, Lio Rush is challenger. I love Lio Rush. I would say he's one of the best flyers. Not as good as Will Ospreay or any other, but I would say he's right up there too. This was just a squash match out of the gate. Lio Rush just launches himself, pretty much headbutts him right in the head with a suicide dive. It looks like fell down. He looked like he was super injured. Chris Sabin said, "All right, I should be okay," but he was super limping. He couldn't get out of the gate. As soon as he got in the ring, drop kick, knocked him out. Then Lio Rush gets him a kick, then gives him the final hour finisher. He kicks out, saying, "Oh, maybe he has a light. Maybe he's going to do a good match." Nope. Lio Rush hits another one, and 1, 2, 3. Lio Rush is the champion. It was not even a match. It was a very quick killing off Sabin. I don't know if it was. It was just saying, well, Sabin wants to get that title away. Maybe he wants to go against his tag team partner, his Alex Shelley. It's possible, but this was just no rating. It was just a very quick squash match, and if I had a good rating, I'd give this a really good rating just because of Lio Rush winning and Chris Sabin losing. That's all I said. No rating. That's all.
You know what I'm going to say that, Burn?
Yeah.
Lio Rush, want to be Swerve. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. Want to be Swerve. 0. That shit was a waste of time. Don't put squash matches in a pay-per-view. That's stupid. Put that shit on television or YouTube for these boys.
Uh, all I was going to say is that Lio Rush is probably better than him, but we will see you soon because if anyone didn't know, sorry, we don't print a post or anything, but in a few days, in a few weeks, actually next week, we'll be doing a who's better between Lio Rush and Swerve. So we can decide who is the better. But Danny, what do you think about this match? Not this match, but this decision.
We all talked about the Ultimate X match being the best match of the night, right? But what is the best moment, the best part of the night? It is undeniably Chris Sabin getting squashed in less than 90 seconds. I'm going to be honest, I don't like Motor City Machine Guns for the very similar reasons I don't like the Young Bucks. Sure, they got some talent, but they are charisma vacuums in my eyes, and I really could care less about them. So seeing that was just kind of cool. Option C, is a thing that might be happening pretty soon here, and Lio Rush beating Chris Sabin the way he did. There's a little story there you got between him and Alex Shelley now if they're going to have that title match before Alexander gets his shot. But from what I've read, I don't know how true this is. Again, this could all just be BS. I heard that Chris Sabin actually needed time to heal, and he wasn't the most clear to compete for Slammiversary, which is why originally the match was going to be a regular match, but then it got changed to a squash match for Chris Sabin's health. I don't know how true that is, but it could very likely be true. And yeah, so I'm not really going to give a rating on this, but yeah, I thought this was the right decision, especially to get around Chris Sabin's injury and to give more fuel onto Lio Rush. I think, usually I don't like squash matches, I really don't, but in this case, it just makes a lot of sense in my vision.
Yeah, it was a pretty great moment, I would say, after that, too. I'm okay with that. I always say that Leo Rush deserves titles because this is great, I would say. So let's move on to the second best match of the night, which is very funny because this is the, say, fifth, maybe say fourth match of the night, and this is now the second best match. And that's after that, it goes downhill very quickly. So it is the Impact Tag Team Championships. ABC, who are the title champions, which is Ace Austin and Chris Bay, who are from the Bullet Club, versus Subculture, which are from the NXT UK brand. They just transferred into Impact, which I think they're doing a great job in Impact right now, versus Brian Myers and Moose, versus the reunited Rich Swann and Sami Callihan. This was a very fun match. It was very hectic. It was very chaos. I'd say controlled chaos, I would call it. It was very fun. A lot of crap was happening. A lot of dives, everything. The best dives were from Subculture, from just Flash Morgan Webster was doing a lot of crazy crap. But it was very fun to see that. It was a very fun, high flying type of match with a few type of power moves and a bunch of power drivers from Sami Callihan. It was very good. I loved it too. But in the end, Subculture won with Mark Andrews, or Mandrews, which he was in Impact for a long time, won by the Fault of Pieces Shooting Star Press and got the win. And they are the new tag team champions, Subculture. And I think that was a great decision. Subculture is a great tag team to see as a new champion. So I give this a 7 for me.
And same here, dude. Because at first I didn't recognize them, and I'm like, wait a minute, Subculture. These are the same boys that delivered last time when we did those NXT take back, right? From a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
Because they really deliver like always. I mean, you're not gonna go wrong with a tag team match, championship style. I mean, you get a bunch of high flowers. Even Moose did some crazy shit too. I mean, Moose and Subculture too were pretty much like the MVPs. Because of course, Moose and his partner are like the bigger sized dudes going against all these like light guys or whatever. So that's always gonna be a fun David for Goliath kind of match style. So it was it was enjoyable. But after this, it was kind of like lame down here.
E.
Yeah,
So, what would you rate the match, Chris?
I give it a 7. It was fun, but it
Yeah,
wasn't
I'll
as
go.
good as as the opener.
No, it's all good. And yeah, I agree. I'd go with the 7 as well. And it wasn't as good as the opener, but it was a solid little second place, I guess. And everything that's third and below is just ugh. But hey, I will say this: I did have some fun with this match, and yeah, overall, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. The next match, I have a lot more to say on, so stay tuned.
Yeah, and this was, I would say, the worst match of the night. Well, barring the weird tag team match that they had, this was probably the worst match of the night. It was Eddie Edwards accompanied by his wife Aaliyah Edwards versus Frankie Kazarian and his wife. I forgot her name, Frankie something. I forgot her last name, but his wife. And this was a miserable match. Like they really weirdly, like these two should stop being wrestlers. Like they've been wrestling for a long time. Eddie Edwards used to be the golden boy of Impact and kind of went downhill very quickly. But I don't know why this happened, but it was very stupid. It was super slow. It didn't have a lot of good impacts or anything. There was tiny small things. The wives didn't even interfere very often. It was very like tiny things and wanted to be interfered, but they're not doing anything that would make it fun. They're like low blows from the wife, doing like hitting people in the chair or anything special like that. It was very no. It was very bad thing. It was just not good of a match, and these two don't have it anymore. I would say, and they need those two need to leave it to the professionals and stay in the background and help them maybe in the background. I gotta say, I gotta give this a 1.
Same here, bro. Like, literally, how do you do 30 minutes of nothing? You know, fuck this match. And you take the shit. The shit was retarded. Waste of time.
Yeah. You know what? Good, because I need. Oh, all right. Eddie Edwards and Frankie Kazarian, man. Eddie Edwards and Frankie Kazarian. Now let me say this. I think Frankie Kazarian is a solid act. You know, a solid mid card act. That is, in my eyes, what he's always been. Eddie Edwards, however, you know how I shit on the Young Bucks, how I shit on the Motor City Machine Guns. Well, guess what, people? The Wolves are no fucking exception. These two are as boring as watching paint dry on the fucking wall. This guy fucking sucks. And the fact that he was the face of Impact, man, what company would be that stupid? I mean, I clearly think of 100. I said 100 wrestlers alive and breathing today that are better than Eddie Edwards, but I don't want to waste y'all's time. All I will say is Eddie Edwards, none of his matches have ever impressed me. Even going back to 7 years, even go back 10 years, this guy sucks. This guy is garbage in every single faucet. And this match is an absolute glorious example of what I talked about. Since nobody gives a shit about this guy's boring ass personality, he decides to have a boring ass match where he does little to nothing and expect people to care. Even though this guy's a fucking loser and a fucking nobody. I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. This match sucked. This was one of the worst fucking matches I have seen this entire year. I am stunned. I mean, I am actually stunned by how steamy and how awful of a match this truly is. And I know Eddie Edwards has sucked for a long time, but man, that really showed in this match. That really showed in this match. I mean, thank God I didn't see that other stupid one, Davey, on the fucking card. Jesus Christ. But Eddie is a fucking disaster of a wrestler too. Jesus Christ. All I have to say is this match was fucking dog shit. Expect this on the 10 worst matches of the year. And honestly, Eddie Edwards should have retired 5 to 10. Maybe he should have never even wrestled because he's always sucked. I'm giving this match a 1 out of 10.
Now, one thing I'm going to disagree. I do agree 100% with Eddie, but I gotta say Richards is actually very good. I like Richards a lot more than Eddie. I think Eddie's actually way better in some matches that I've been watching on the independent scene. He has been doing some great matches, better than Eddie has ever done. Perfectly honest. So just want to bring that up just because that's how I think. But so let's move on to probably the best moment of the night right here. Impact Knockouts Championship, which is the Impact Women's Championship. Again, Dana Purrazzo, who is the champion, versus Trinity, other known as Naomi from WWE. This is it's not the best match of the night, but the best moment of the night. This was some great things and moves happened in this match. It was very good. Not the most impressive. It was very mid, but it was a good moment entirely at the same time. What happened, say, was first Trinity gives her, like I say, full Nelson bomb from the top rope. A weird transition happened where she tried to pin her, not pin her. It was a weird transition. I didn't like that. Then got her into her Trinity's finisher, Starstruck, and Dana Purrazzo taps out for the first time in Impact history against Trinity, and Trinity is your new Impact Knockouts champion, which she deserved for a long time, and I think I'm very happy to see that. Even though it was a good match, it was not a best match, but it was a great moment. Probably the best moment of the night. Again, I give this a 4.5.
And same here. I'm happy for Trinity, but I don't understand why she went with this company. Like, she's better than this. I mean, obviously this match wasn't that great. It just wasn't enough chemistry, and I don't know. I think what kind of gave it away for me is, how do you pronounce her name? Diona, right?
Diana?
Okay, either way.
Let's say Purrazzo if you wanted to.
Okay, Peraza. It's just her entrance alone. Like, you can kind of tell that she was dropping the title like almost immediately, and there wasn't even like a shadow of a doubt that Trinity wasn't gonna win. I'm happy for Trinity, but this match itself was very boring. It was predictable, just like the tag team match was. Nothing much to say. I'm just gonna give it a 4, just below average.
You know what I have to say? You know how they hired Trinity in the Knockouts division?
Yo.
And I'm telling you right now, she's going to be exactly for the women's division what Josh is for the men's division. She's going to be carrying that shit.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's going to be happening. I'm telling you right now. This is her division, man. Only 2 months after. And do you know why it's her division? Because no one in that division is going to be bringing in as much money as Trinity. No one's going to be bringing in as many views as Trinity. You can argue that Trinity's not the best wrestler on the roster and all, and that's fine. But doesn't really matter when she's bringing in all the bucks. Exactly.
Young Bucks.
Now, no, I'm just no. Okay. Seriously though, I just have to say that I am happy for Trinity getting her moment here. But yeah, it's like who else should really be beating Trinity right now? You know, unless if they be getting a fucking Mercedes Monet or something to pull up, which I doubt that happens because of the whole Stardom deal that Mercedes is still locked into. Overall, I will give this match a 4.5 out of 10. It was not the worst, but it wasn't that good.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would say that, yeah, Trinity is going to carry that shit completely. I would agree with 100% that. There's no one who's going to be defeating Trinity, only if they bring in, I don't know, someone like Tessa Blanchard, but I doubt that's never going to happen because of how bad Tessa Blanchard screwed the fuck up. But I think Trinity's just going to stay there for a year, more than a year, I would say. But let's move on to the main event, or lack thereof. The Impact World Championship match, Alex Shelley, who is the champion, versus Nick Aldis, the National Treasure. This was a very mid match. It was not what I felt it should have been. Yeah, Alex Shelley just being the tactical guy, pretty much trying to weaken people's arm, people's leg, Nick Aldis's legs, arms, head, pretty much just trying to get into a submission. And it was very, very slow. It was not that bad of a match, but it was very mid for a main event in general. So it was weird to see it, but it was not that bad. It was Nick Aldis doing what he usually is, really like a traditional wrestler in general, and Alex Shelley being a technical. In the end, Alex Shelley won by his finisher, the Shell Shock, and it was not that bad of a match. So again, it was just very mid. But the best thing happened was at the end of the match. At the end of the match, a biggest return to Impact would change Impact for a good while, very long time, I would say. But let's hit on to what Chris thinks.
Like, I don't know. I'm not too familiar with either of these guys. I just know that Alex was from the Motor City dudes, right? From what I remembered.
Yes, Motor City Machine Guns.
So that wasn't already a great indicator of how bad this championship match is going to be. Like, he's good as a tag team guy, but by himself, it was just very mid. And Nick, whatever, I just wasn't feeling this match. I got to be honest with you. Like, there's nothing wrong with average matches, but it's just like so predictable, and you can tell like the choreographic is like literally slow, and that's the one thing I kind of hate about wrestling when it comes to like average shit. And I understand that's what it is at the end of the day, but you got to do better things at selling, do better finishers, or hell, even just have better chemistry. Because at the end of the day, if this is what Impact has to offer for their fucking main event, no, thank you. I don't want to see any more of this shit, and they should have just stopped when they're in TNA. Let's be real here.
Damn.
Fuck TNA.
All right. Well, what do you rate this match?
A 5.
Well, all right. Now, I'm rating this shit the same thing. Now, I'm actually gonna argue on one little thing. You know how you say it's kind of like dumb for like a tag team guy to hold the belt?
Yeah.
To be fair, there are some people who like just shot themselves up from tag wrestling to like singles wrestling, like Edge, Jeff Hardy, now Jey Uso. Right now, Jey Uso is a good example. So I definitely think it can be done. But Alex Shelley is so shit and so fucking boring as he's as slow as a snail in terms of how fucking charismatic he is, not in terms of his wrestling ability. But I just don't like this guy. And then Nick Aldis is alright. But you know what's funny? His Impact deal actually expired. And now he's in talks with WWE to be a producer. Basically the same job Abyss has or Joseph Park has. So I don't know. It seems like I don't know what he's going to do for his future, but it's all in the air right now. He left by putting over Alex Shelley in this title match, Slammiversary main event. And yeah, like it wasn't the worst match of the show. That I will say for sure. But yeah, they kind of were doing like an old school match where like, Alex was being technical and so was Nick. But I don't know. It just wasn't really clicking for the people. It wasn't clicking for me. It is what it is. But yeah, Josh Alexander, you said it. You've heard it. Now, he needs to come back and get that title.
Yeah, so I forgot to give my rating, and it's actually 5.5 for myself. But the biggest thing happened at the end. Josh Alexander, the original Impact World Champion, before he got injured, returned, and he said on a microphone just 2 words: "I'm back." So it's going to probably happen at the next pay-per-view, which I don't remember. I think it's Emergence, or I think it's Emergence. It's probably going to be Josh Alexander versus Alex Shelley, maybe against and Chris Sabin. I feel like it might be a triple threat match. I have a feeling of that to me.
I feel like Leo could also cash in option C, and then he could also be added to that match.
Yeah, so it might be a fatal four. Or I feel like maybe just Leo Rush just wants to be in a X division. I kind of feel like he maybe just wants to be in X division for a little while more. But
which would be fine.
Yeah, I would love that too. But yeah, I probably feel like it should probably be a triple threat or a fatal four way. I'm perfectly fine with both. But I just hope that this will be better than this match. But I can't wait to see. Mainly want to see Josh Alexander win that title back. He's the rightful champion. He's carried the division for a fucking long time, and he had probably one of the best matches. Every match he does is the best match of the night or best match of the week or month or whatever. He has the best matches. So I want to see him back and be the top guy for a long time. That's how I think about this for a long time. What do you guys just think about Josh Alexander returning?
Bro, I'm excited for him, but I really wish this guy would go somewhere else. I hate to say it, dude, but this company does not need to exist in this day of age. It does not need to exist. It's been dead. They only got like 5,000 sales, or no, it was like $1,000, right, just for this pay-per-view.
No, so let me look up the buy rate right now. I believe it was around 1,000 to 2,000 people.
Oof.
And do you know how many? For context, AEW gets typically at bare minimum 150,000 buys. So compare 1,000 to 150,000. It's crazy.
I'm just saying, man. Oh, go ahead, Berman.
No, I'm just saying that probably just got to get better matches. They really don't have the best matches right now, with them relying on the older generation of Impact stars. I'll say right now.
Listen, man.
Yeah,
hmm?
I know. No, I was about to say Berman is kind of right. Like it seems like they're holding on to like the Bully Rays for some weird reason and not just letting go. And like Josh Alexander and Trinity are basically the biggest star of each division, but I feel like they need to find more stars if they actually wanted to be taken, seriously as that other company,
Yeah.
And I will say this. Yeah, I kind of get you because I get why Josh Alexander is staying. And do you want me to explain this perfect reason?
Shoot.
In WWE and AEW, nobody really knows who's going to be a main event player there or a mid-card player there, right? Like at one point when Malachi Black first came in and beat Cody Rhodes, I was like, oh, this guy's getting the AEW strap. A year and a half later, that never happened. And, basically, when it comes down to it, right, Josh Alexander is so good, but what if you throw him to the Lions at WWE and AEW? What if he doesn't get utilized to the best of his ability? At Impact, he's always guaranteed in a world title spot. He's always guaranteed as a main event player. Like, that's hard to turn away when you're, like, guaranteed that with that company. You're not guaranteed that anywhere else you go. You know what I'm saying?
I know, man, but you gotta gamble, bro. You gotta take chances sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like he would do all right in AEW, but yeah, that's just me. I feel
Yeah.
like he would thrive there.
I just feel like, and I think he'd be. If he wants to go to AEW, probably the main thing is first win that Impact Championship, hold it for about a half a year or a year, and then give it, and then give it to someone who deserves it. I don't know who right now in the championship division right now who deserves it. If anyone, I would love to see Jake something take that title. Just because I love Jake something. I think he has been a lot of potential to actually get a good title reign for himself. So if anyone, Jake something, because I think it'd be fun to see that. But right
And
now,
sorry, keep going.
no, not I was just saying. And who else?
Well, it's like funny, from a narrative standpoint. Oh, Chris.
No, you're good. Because honestly, outside of Jake something, I don't think there's literally anybody else. I mean, you could give it to Leo Rush, but you know how I fucking feel about him. I don't like his ass. Tony Khan don't like his ass, and that's why he went back to Impact because he knows no one's gonna watch that shit except for us and 1,000 people.
Well,
New Japan did.
No one cares about him. There's other people in New Japan.
oh man. Well, this is the sad thing, right? When you go through all of Josh Alexander's title matches, there's only one person that he's fought who he could probably fight again and has a narrative reason, like a story reason to beat him. But even then, I wouldn't want to see that person beat Josh.
Moose.
Mike Bailey.
Yeah, that'd be true. I actually would love to see Mike Bailey win.
Like, they have a story for sure. I just don't know if Mike Bailey should be that.
I think he should. He has been probably a number 2 best wrestler in Impact after Josh Alexander. It's been Mike Bailey every goddamn time. Best matches. Same as Josh Alexander. I think if anyone, it would be Jake something and Mike Bailey. Now I think about it. If one of those two can take that Josh Alexander title after about a year and a half, I think that's perfect, people. Mike Bailey and probably number 1 right now for me.
Yeah, I think in a year or two, maybe he'll be more willing to gamble. But right now, he's clearly enjoying what he's doing at Impact.
True.
Yeah. So,
go for it.
last one. If anything else, do you have anything else you want to say before we go into the main ratings of the show?
All I'll say is, like, it's a very interesting thing. Like, just throughout the main event, Shelly, all this, I was like thinking, this company really does need Alexander. Like, the company very much has Alexander and Trinity, and without them, I feel like they'd be in very rough shape.
Yeah, true that. I would give it that to you. So, right now, let's go into the ratings. For me, I'm giving this a 4.5. There was only 2 matches that were really good. The X Division, the X Division champ. Sorry, the first match. Sorry, and the tag team championship match are the 2 best matches on the night.
And then for me, I'm just gonna give it 3. The only match I actually thoroughly enjoyed was the X Division title match, but that was pretty much everything else is really forgettable.
Yeah, this was genuinely one of the worst pay-per-views I've seen in the last couple of years across just any wrestling company. So I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. Very, very bad pay-per-view. Honestly, I thought Royal Rumble 2023 was going to be the worst of pay-per-view of the year once it was all said and done. But nope, it's not anymore.
Yeah, well, this is going to be in the history records as probably the worst pay-per-view of the year so far. So, for everyone watching, thank you guys for watching. I've been Berman.
I mean, Chris.
And I've been Daniel.
And see you guys in the next video.